Steve, the one thing that stood out to you was the fact that, yes, they could not figure out Ryan, which seems to be the way he is against the Orioles, but the second time through was key.
This team has some remarkable statistics the second time they face a pitcher in a game. The first time, and we saw him go 0 for 9 last night, they are 18th in Major League Baseball with an OPS of 696. But the second time through the order, 994 is their team OPS for the year, the second time facing a pitcher. And look at what they did last night. Yarborough, who shut him down before, was doing it again, and then an explosion. They didn't just get a few runs off him, they knocked him out of the game. And Toronto is a distant second to the Orioles, second time through with an 823 OPS. Then comes Philadelphia, San Francisco, Pittsburgh, Atlanta is in there somewhere. So, I mean, these teams, but they're way behind the Orioles at 994. Mel, that is, I mean, a player with that OPS is an all-star potential Hall of Famer, incredible numbers. So what are they doing? I mean, they're just making some great in-game adjustments from the first at-bat to the second. They're communicating so well on the bench. Brandon Hyde talked about that today. Coaches to players, players to players. They're talking about the game. You know, I had a couple hitters tell me today they watch, their first at bat, how's the pitcher pitch them? And then they watch hitters similar to them. How does he pitch this guy who hits something like I do? So they're really schooling the game here, Mel. And I mean, they're doing great things in third, fourth, fifth innings because of it. It's really something to see. It's been very impressive how the Orioles are owning these pitchers the second time through. And I mean, last night, the adjustments were made, and here you go. It starts with Adley. He smokes a double. And then Ryan Mountcastle, he got the sprinklers going on his extra base hit. And Ryan Mountcastle hit 850 feet worth of homers last night. That's the first one. And again, they go 5 for 6 here in the fourth inning and score 5 runs. So they didn't just get a little bit off the pitcher. They smoked him. James McCann drives in a run, and suddenly 3-0 is 3-3. And here come the Orioles trying to win this game. Cedric Mullins has been incredible this year with runners in scoring position, hitting nearly 500. Gunnar Henderson makes an incredible slide to score that run. And the Orioles break out big time against Yarborough, a pitcher who they have struggled with a lot in the past. So second time through, it worked again for the Baltimore Orioles last night.
Well, and I like that you mentioned that run for Gunnar Henderson was huge. And the fact of the matter is, while he's still trying to find his motion at the plate, connect for a few more hits, he's picking up some really timely walks, identifying that value of the ability to still reach is just as important. What most impresses you about the fact that this rookie hasn't really lost his composure in the middle of a really stacked lineup?
Well, he has told me several times during this season where, of course, we know he's not hitting like he expects himself to, or the team or the fans, but it's going to come, is he's taking pitches. He likes he's getting his walks. He's being patient. He's not getting out of his lane. He's not making changes. When he went 1 for 31 in Aberdeen a couple years ago, he told me, frankly, he panicked a little bit and he made some changes, and then he had to go back, to the old school way and the way he liked to hit. So this kid isn't making any changes. He's level-headed for someone so young. He's one of the youngest players in baseball, maybe the youngest at 21. He can't wait to get to Atlanta for a reunion with, I think his whole town is going to empty out from Alabama to Georgia this weekend. So that's going to be a big weekend coming up for Gunnar Henderson when the Orioles face the Braves. And this kid is going to be okay. He threw the ball 90 miles an hour last night across the diamond. He's got a hose. He can play short and third. Mel, they're going to be patient with him. He's 21, and the Orioles saw last year what this kid could do.
They certainly did. Well, we've got no shortage of big Orioles that are trying to come up through the system. It's crazy. We feel like most of them are already here, but then you take a look at who's still in the minor leagues. Cade Povich brings home that Eastern League Pitcher of the Week. You take a look at what he was able to do here. 5 innings, 10 strikeouts. This kid is absolutely ridiculous, especially when you look at his numbers overall. 27 strikeouts through 17 innings of work this year, 3.71 ERA. And you take a look at what the rotation has been able to build as a whole. This is the rotation, not all their pitchers. A 260, a 191 opponent average with 9 different starting pitchers. 2 pitchers throwing 3+ innings 9 times this year. And Steve, for me, this reminds me of when I was in the Texas League in 2018 because we faced Houston's AA system this is what they did. They had so many guys that they still wanted to see if they could develop into major league starters. So they stacked them. And where you were the starter one day, you would piggyback your next time out and they would continue to flip it. What is it about this system that really is becoming a pretty standard way?
Well, that's what Bowie and the Orioles like to do. Not at every affiliate, but they're heavily doing it at Bowie. And we saw those rotation stats. They have essentially 9 or 10 starting pitchers or guys that they feel are good enough to be that now and maybe down the road. So as you saw that stat, 10 guys have thrown 3 innings or more in a game. That gives a pitcher a chance to face a lineup a second time, sometimes if they're deeper in the game, a third, develop all their pitches. They're not just in there for an inning throwing 15 pitches. They're throwing 40, 50, 60, and it's 2 a game. Not every night for Bowie, but many nights. Povich is off to a great start. Armbruster, they've got some guys throwing really well for that Bowie team. They're not hitting much right now, Melanie, and so their record is poor right now. When they get some runs, and I think they will, that record is going to get a lot better for the Bowie Bay Sox because pitching is so big in this game, and the Bay Sox have it in abundance, as we're seeing, in essence, 10 starting pitchers on the staff.